Okay, so welcome everybody to our first podcast of some sort, whatever you want to call it.
Three-piece in a pod.
Yeah.
Three-piece in a podcast.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about, well, we're here at the Bearospace workshop, and we'll just be talking about what we're each doing, what's kind of the latest for this week. So,
Hopefully it'll be of everyone's interest.
yeah, we should probably introduce ourselves a little bit.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
So I'm Spike Webb from Bearospace channel and FPV reviews, and so what do I do? I design robotic airplanes of different types, mostly fixed wing, but so I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. This is my father, Gary.
I'm Gary. I'm Spike's dad. There's nothing I can do about that. But I'm
What's your YouTube channel? Tell them your YouTube channel.
got a YouTube channel called Sail Tales. I play with model sailboats. I've made a few designs and have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. And this is our friend Victor. He's adopted.
I'm Victor.
Yeah.
I've known Gary and Spike for better part of 20 years now.
Yeah.
All of 20
All
years.
of 21 years.
Yeah.
That's right,
Yeah,
21
it's been a long
years. Yes. And we've developed a very close relationship, family, you could call it.
Yeah.
I'm into music myself. I have a channel called TDKCT, and I've just posted some of my very first tunes that I've created recently, and I enjoy sitting down with my good friends here, and we usually have some topics that are, interesting, and we elaborate quite a bit on it. So we're gonna give this a try and see if everyone out there enjoys it, and give us some feedback.
We sit down and talk often, but we're just sharing it this time.
Yeah, we've never really
pretty
sat
much
down and
always
documented any of it, so we figured, give it a crack and see
Yeah.
how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get some feedback.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Victor's like the ultimate hipster.
Not really. I don't have a long beard and a beanie, but I'm a hybrid of something. I'm a hybrid of the different cultures, the alternative cultures that are out there. I guess.
That's what a hipster is.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Yeah, exactly.
We're missing one dog.
Yeah, he's down there somewhere.
Yeah.
There he is. He's under my chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you need to
He might
introduce your
wander up
dogs
later.
too.
Yeah, this is Mapacha. Her in Spanish, that's raccoon girl. She has markings kind of like a raccoon. And this is Pulga, which is, as you probably know, we live in Mexico, so the dogs have Spanish names or Mexican names. Pulga means little flea, or pulguita, little flea. Because when we got her, she had a lot of fleas. So, not so much anymore. But the name stuck. Anyway. So, who wants to talk about what they're doing? Oh, by the way, Victor's music, a lot of his music you've seen lately in FPV Reviews channel. It's mostly been used for the last probably year or so.
Yeah, just about a year. Yeah.
So you probably already heard his music, some of his electronic music.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he does other kinds as well. He's been in some band, been part of some different bands, and he does actually playing of instruments, acoustic, but he's lately been working on electronic music as well.
Yeah. It's my first attempts to make some electronic music. Hopefully,
Yeah.
because of mostly been busy working, I've kind of put it on the back burner. But now that I have some free time, I'll probably be spewing out quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
Hopefully,
what's your latest project?
Right now I've been mostly doing something. It's a little a little embarrassing to say this, but I've been playing a guitar since I was a teenager. But unfortunately, I never took it seriously enough to learn all the proper music theory, scales, and all that. And now I'm finally taking the time to just buckle down, put my head down and really delve into the essence of what music is. And I'm finding it to be fascinating. It's a topic that, I'm surrounded by music. My life is pretty much all about music. Every aspect of it has something to do with music in one way or another. But
except when you're hanging out with us.
Well, even then in a way, because we always end up going to buy an instrument together or a MIDI controller or something. So I've kind of sucked you into my vortex of music.
It's mostly when we go to the mailbox together.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we made a trip just a few days ago.
That's right.
Yeah.
Victor found a new guitar.
I got a new guitar. Yeah.
What kind is it? What kind of guitar?
It's a Takamine. It's an electrical acoustic guitar. It has a cutaway, and it's nicer than the one I had before. I still have it. It's just a regular economic model. But this is an upgrade for what I have. Now I can plug it in and go to an amplifier, and I can put effects in between. And I can almost do pretty much what you do with a fully electric guitar, except you don't want to really kill you don't want to drown out the original signal coming from the guitar. But I'm really happy. It's an improvement, and I'm hoping that this new tool will help me develop my music furthermore, along with the exercises and everything that I've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the cutout in the guitar is for what? What's the purpose of that?
So the guitar has the basic notes, bass and treble, and then it gets split into an octave. And then further down the neck, you have much higher notes, which sometimes is nice, to give different accents for different types of music. And this cutaway allows you to get your hand further down and just play the higher notes without having to stretch your fingers too much, or just plain not, being able to reach them.
So it physically allows you to reach them.
Exactly, yeah. It just enables you to comfortably reach those those higher registers of the guitar.
Yeah. So does it, having that cutout, also affect the resonance or the sound of the guitar?
That's actually a good question. It probably does, because you've taken away a large chunk of the box that allows allows it to resonate, but because
it's different shape too.
Yeah. This is what is called a jumbo size guitar, so it's a pretty big body. So I'm not too concerned, because it's quite deep too, and now that I've put new strings in it and all that, and I've tested it in a controlled environment. When we picked it up, we were outside in a parking lot, and it was just hard, and it had bad strings in it, that they were dull. But now that I was able to play it indoors, definitely you can tell the difference, and I don't think it's affected it. I'm sure, when they design these instruments, they keep that in mind.
Oh yeah.
But it's probably just a small percentage that you're losing to it.
Volume, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the volume can be made up in the size of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although there are regular size cutaway guitars, but if you're playing for yourself or in a small room for an audience, you don't necessarily need a PA. Which is like an amplifier, or just put a microphone, like what we have here.
Right, so just the sound coming out of the guitar.
Yeah.
The acoustic sound.
Exactly. Yeah, if you need to address a larger crowd in a larger space, then you just...
So that's when you use the amp?
That's when you use the amp, yeah. Mine has a built-in two-piece pickup, which separates. I thought that was kind of cool from the guitar. It separates the bass notes from the treble, because it has two saddles. It's a split saddle.
That's
So-
where the noise that goes to the bass is picked up.
Both
So
both
it's-
the treble and the bass. So the saddle is split. I think it's 4 strings and 2. Yeah. The higher strings are on the bottom, and they go on that one saddle, and part of the pickup is there because it also has a 3-band equalizer, so you can actually modulate the sound of the guitar as it comes out of the pickups into the amplifier. So you can actually tweak the sound
So you
on the
can
guitar.
put an equalizer in between the guitar.
It's
pickup
got
and-
one built into it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's a simple 3-band
Oh, that's that
equalizer.
circuit board that.
Yeah,
that's
it's
on
that
the-
little
on the
box
side with
that's
the
on.
controls.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's for performing. That equalizer is kind of to just adjust the sound bracket.
Yeah, if you want your guitar to have richer bass tones, and you
Right.
you
So
crank
you can
up.
make some adjustments.
That's right. Yeah, depending on what kind of music you're playing. Yeah.
So you can kind of cut out some of the ranges of
Frequencies.
frequencies that lower them that you don't want
Exactly.
so much, and up the ones that you do want.
That's
depending-
right. Yeah.
From what I understand, that's what an equalizer does.
Yes, that's your 100%.
Yeah, and it had
right.
something called a notch filter as well. Is that true?
Yeah.
I heard the name. The
Yeah,
word thrown
I don't know. I haven't really played with that a whole lot, just because I've been tweaking other stuff, getting cleaned up and all that. I want to do a little more research on that before I make any comment
Right.
on that. But I don't know if it's like a regular filter that you just tweak, and also it can either enhance or decrease a specific frequency in the spectrum. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what
Yeah.
notch filter means to
Yeah.
music and radio frequency. It
Yeah,
means that
basically what it does is
completely cuts out in radio frequency. It completely cuts out any frequency from a certain, that's not in a certain band.
right. I guess you could
It's not
call
in a
it
certain
similar.
range.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could call it something similar.
Does the same.
Yeah, you can do a
similar thing.
sweep. Yeah, basically what it does is it can either create a notch that's pointing down or pointing up, so it either enhances or
Okay.
completely wipes out
Oh,
a specific, frequency. Yeah,
Range.
and what you do when you tweak that little knob, you do a sweep, so you're going across the spectrum. Now this is what happens in my digital audio workstation, with
Right.
with the filter that is built into
Right,
it. But I
so-
don't know if that's exactly what the guitar is going to be doing, because I haven't
Right.
really played with it that much. I'm hoping that's the case.
Okay.
So
you're still learning a bit.
Yeah.
About it.
yeah. It has a couple other features built into it, like I guess like a mid-range contour thing. If I had to guess, it just kind of either takes out some of the mid frequencies.
Oh, like
Yeah,
some curve with the equalizer.
I guess
Like a generic curve that you can just
Oh,
turn on.
I think it just targets a specific, set of frequencies that are in the mid-range of the
Right.
spectrum,
Mhm.
and I think it contours them. I don't know if it has like a special circuitry. It probably does that tweaks it a little bit. But like I said, I'll be able to comment more once I've really delved into
Explored
it.
that
Yeah.
fully. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I never thought that there could be so many things on a simple acoustic guitar, but with a fully electric one, there's a whole array of things that you can use to manipulate and enhance your sound, along with the combination with the type of amplifier that you're using. So,
And even with all this, you still have to learn to play it, right?
unfortunately,
you can't
yes.
take that away.
Well, that's the
If you
beauty
do.
of it. Yeah, it's like an artist, He can have a whole plateau of paintings and all that, but you know,
Yeah.
you got to know how to paint.
You gotta hold the
So,
brush.
You got to hold the brush and do it in a right way.
Right. And
Which Gary does really well, by the way. He's
Yeah.
a very gifted watercolor artist.
yeah.
And he very gracefully just recently gave my teenage daughter a kit of watercolors, and she loved it. So thanks, Gary, again.
Yeah.
Glad to
yeah,
hear
yeah,
that.
she's loving it. Yeah, she's been kind of busy with school and not using them that much recently, but her first attempt, I thought, was really good. Yeah,
I'd still like to sit down with her sometime and
I think she would very much enjoy that. Yeah.
show her. I've got a few paintings down on the booth I'd
Okay.
like to show her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she would
Yeah.
dig that.
Show her how
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, she needs little nudges from people that know how to
Yeah.
do this stuff. Unfortunately, I can't help her in that
Yeah.
because I can't draw to save my own life. So
Well, the creativity kind of comes out of the head, but
yeah,
some of the methodology can be taught, right?
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
There's techniques to
Some
be
of the
learned, I'm sure.
techniques.
Yeah.
Then at that point, it's up to her to practice the techniques and then, apply them in a creative form. Is that how it works?
Right, something
Or
like that.
am I overgeneralizing it?
No, that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I had in the beginning little instructions from my mother, who was an artist.
Right.
And
An actual trained professional
yeah, she was
artist.
she painted all her life.
Right.
And she showed me just a few basics about using the watercolors, and
Yeah.
after that you work with them, and no doubt your daughter will develop her own style.
Yeah,
Yeah.
She'll learn to manipulate them and
yeah,
hopefully do
Yeah.
something that
Yeah.
she likes.
yeah.
sort of thing.
Fortunately, in this day and era, it's not hard. I mean, she immediately jumped into YouTube videos, tutorials, and
Mhm.
she got the hang of it pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, she, I guess she has a natural, talent for it, but she was able to avert perhaps common mistakes that are made by people that were less fortunate, in in previous times when we didn't have the oracle,
Right.
to refer to consult with.
Well, it's a great tool, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think all of us. I'm just curious as to if any of us, in our professional or hobby lives, are doing anything that we actually went to school for.
Yeah, good question. No, well,
I mean,
yeah, that's a good
You?
comment.
How about you?
Everything that, well, professionally, you guys are my mentors. I learned what there was to
Yeah.
learn about boat mechanics and all that, which is what puts food on my table at this moment. That comes from you guys. As far as what I potentially would love to have as a career, which is
Yeah.
the music,
So that was hands-on experience.
It was hands-on
mechanical
experience.
things.
Yeah, this is all pre-YouTube. When I was a
Yeah.
teenager, I self-taught myself the basics of all that.
Well, you taught yourself English.
I taught myself English when I was very little. Yeah, I just
and
learned
when
it.
none of your family, if I'm correct, spoke English or very much
And
English
at that
all.
moment, my parents hardly spoke 2 words of English.
Right.
Yeah.
And you learned that from watching television.
Watching television, specifically kids shows. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
yeah.
Of course.
Sesame
Sesame Street.
Yeah.
And yeah, all the cartoons that were available, Saturday morning cartoons and afternoon. So yeah, that's
Whenever he, to this day, whenever he counts anything,
yeah,
he counts with an accent.
with a Middle Eastern accent, yeah. And they get really excited about it too. Yeah, so
Or Eastern European, maybe?
what did I say?
Middle Eastern accent?
No, did I say Middle Eastern? I'm sorry, I meant
Eastern
European, yeah.
Same thing.
Same thing. Yeah, sorry about that.
Except if you're from one of those places, then it's definitely not.
Yeah,
easy.
I'm middle Eastern European.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, so that's how it came about for me. That was my way of learning. But now that you have all this knowledge at
We have YouTube.
right,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's been just a huge tool for me. You know,
Google.
just
Oh, it is
Which-
for
yeah,
all of
which
us.
is
mostly
YouTube.
YouTube. Just
Well,
you know,
it's owned by Google.
when I
now.
first
Yeah.
yeah.
It's all the same.
When I
Yeah.
first got my digital audio workstation, I didn't have the first clue, at least how that one worked. It's called Ableton Live, and it's basically a studio that fits in your computer. It's all So it's a virtual studio, and you can do a whole.
I'm pretending I know what that means.
Oh, it's like having just like really a physical studio. Excuse me, that fits in your computer. Everything is virtual.
So, if I'm correct, what you mean by that is that there's virtual instruments
Yeah.
that you can program to play.
Yeah.
And then you can also actually play instruments,
Yeah.
feed the electronic signals into it,
Yes. Yeah.
and then either filter or modify, like remix
Right. Yeah.
whatever you've done.
It's basically it's like a mixing console that
Yeah.
has, I want to say, I think it's an unlimited number of channels. Maybe it's not unlimited, but it has a very large amount of channels that you can use, and you have the capability of recording normal audio just like we're doing right now, and you can just run it through the workstation,
How's that
and
for
you
audio?
can manipulate it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can manipulate it in almost infinite ways,
Right,
and
so you can filter it, tune it.
yeah,
enhance
you
it.
can change the pitch on it. You can stretch it. You can shrink it.
Like that.
The tempo.
That means to like speed it up or
Yes,
slow it down.
exactly. Yeah, you can customize the tempo to fit the specific tune that you're doing.
Okay.
Sometimes without losing the pitch, which up until relatively recent, it was a very
okay.
difficult endeavor.
Right.
You
so,
know, So
so if you sped it up, the pitch would go up
exactly.
before.
Yes, before now the algorithms that are in these programs allow it to
enables you to say speed it up without the
without
pitch going
sacrificing.
Okay.
Yeah,
up. So basically, adjust both of them
yeah,
inversely
yeah,
to maintain one.
yeah,
Per-
yeah, yeah,
It's
and
interesting.
yeah, it's very interesting. It's just, I mean, it's just a virtually limitless, application tool. You can do a million things. Like I said,
You've actually created a lot of your music lately with just that tool.
yeah,
It's just the
that
computer.
is what I've used to create my music. So far, all the
Right.
electronic stuff has all been done through the digital audio workstation. And even when I start recording the acoustic guitars on there, it's all going to go through there as well.
Yeah.
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 Just because it's just an easy way to
Like
use a platform,
Yeah.
To record
rather
rather
it
than.
enables you to basically edit or enhance the
That's right.
whatever you play
Yeah.
acoustically
Yeah.
instead of just recording it.
Yeah. Yeah. Or if I decide to just as long as it's as long as it's on tempo, as long as it sounds good, I may decide to not manipulate any of the signal, but I
Right.
can, and
Right.
there's unlimited amounts of
Mhm.
tools to do so. So yeah, it's we're living in pretty privileged times right now. We're
Yeah, to be able to have all those tools.
yeah. It's creativity. It's at an all-time high, and it's just growing exponentially. There's
Yeah.
artists coming out.
So there's a lot
Literally,
of creative inspiration
yeah,
for you.
yeah, definitely,
Mhm.
definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of new artists that I admire that have been inspirational to me, of all kinds of genres
Right.
that I like listening to.
And with say a few $100 invested, you could you can have, say, this program on the computer
Hmm.
plus a few pieces of hardware to interface
That's right.
whatever you're playing, and so that can, if I'm not mistaken, that can substitute what used to cost
Thousands upon
many
thousands of
or,
dollars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or maybe even more.
Yeah.
You know, up to
you also
like
have
millions of dollars for
for a full-blown
recording
studio. Sure. Yeah. Now, I mean, you still can do that. It depends how high end you want to go. But
Right.
truth is, nowadays, because there are companies that are actually emulating a lot of the consoles, a lot of the instruments that the big studios have. Now they've condensed them into software that you can also purchase, and you can
Okay.
you can apply these effects to your mixes and stuff.
Well, so the big studios are doing this. They're making.
I guess, yeah, they're
Apps,
licensing. I don't think the studios themselves are doing them.
Right.
I think they're just licensing these software companies,
Okay.
to create these very complex algorithms that can mimic
What they were doing.
what they were doing back then.
Right.
Yeah, like just to name one,
Right.
like Abbey Road Studios.
So they're
for
not
example.
giving up their intellectual property, but they're licensing it
They're licensing
to allow
it.
it to be more widely
Yeah.
available at a lower price.
Yeah, you don't have to spend. I don't know how much it costs an hour to be in Abbey Road, but it
Right.
must be very expensive. So now I'm not saying that you get the full benefit of that, but it just enables you that much more to use.
Well, if you're Hugh Laurie, you can afford to
Yeah.
go to the recording studio.
Of
And then
course,
just,
yeah.
you
Well,
know,
he's loaded. He can
and,
afford that.
Like
I'm
drink
sure.
drink alcohol while he's playing, and
He's actually quite a gifted
Yeah,
artist.
yeah,
I
so-
saw his
yeah,
I saw his show, and man, he can sing too.
yeah,
I mean, he's
Yeah.
a very well-rounded musician.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even walk with a cane anymore.
No, that was just a gimmick for
That
the
was a
show.
stunt? Okay.
Yeah, it was a stunt. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you can do this at home now.
Yeah,
And you
Yeah.
can do this at
Yeah.
home. You don't have to travel hundreds or thousands of miles to go to these places.
right.
And also something that is really cool too is that if you decide to use a producer, someone that is way more experienced, someone that's going to do your mixes, someone that's going to enhance your overall just the overall mix, you can just send that by email.
Right.
Or
You don't have
drop.
to travel across the country
You
on
don't
a
have
train.
to travel anywhere.
and-
Yeah.
on a steam train.
Yeah, you don't have to
To-
put on a carriage,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
yeah.
So you can just send a digital file, have it done,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
you know.
It's amazing. Like I said earlier, we're just living in privileged times, and I mean, you've been witness to this. You participate on this on a regular basis with your own videos.
Right.
You've been able to broadcast your not only your expertise, but all the work that you've done, and so has Gary.
Mhm.
You've been able to, where before you had to maybe go to a television station, and
Yeah.
hopefully someone there
Yeah.
would be willing to listen to you.
Right.
But I mean, average Joes were never able to do that before.
Yeah, in the very
Yeah.
beginning, we didn't know how big YouTube would
Yeah.
would really end up being.
Yeah.
And I think at least my idea with the first bear videos, the flying bear videos, was that
Yeah.
we'd sell it to a television station
Yeah.
as kind of a kids show.
Yeah.
But
that was back in the days when YouTube was
not
probably
only-
small time, or you
Yeah,
didn't know enough about it.
It was not nearly as big as it is now.
Yeah.
Well, not only did that not work out, but YouTube did work out.
Well, yeah, you
So
wound
there's
up
kind
with
of a
your own
shift.
station,
Yeah,
so to speak.
Yeah, now that's why they call them channels,
Which is
really,
better.
because
Yeah.
it is a tube
right.
of sorts, and
Yeah.
you have your own channel. It's awesome,
Yeah.
That's what.
Not in the sense of a vacuum tube, like a literal vacuum tube.
No.
You're using the tube in the loose sense.
In
of
the
the
loose
word.
sense of
Yeah.
what TVs were called for many
Right.
years, yeah. So that's what enables us to sit here right now and
Yeah.
share all this stuff with you.
Whatever we're doing,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't like that when I was a kid.
No,
No.
no. Even when I was growing up,
Yeah.
you know, it was still
Yeah.
good old-fashioned TV.
Well, or for me, you'd have to be lucky to just go down the street and talk to one of the neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's how you learn to work on cars and do body work, and it was
that's,
just by, walking down the street and
well, I used to ride
offering to
my
help.
bicycle around town and hang out at the gas station or the garage or the body shop
Learn.
and learn a little bit here and a little bit there.
Right.
I probably learned a lot of things that weren't right, but
Yeah.
yeah, and then I learned a few things that were.
Right.
But the learning was hard to come by.
Yeah.
Compared to what it is
Knowledge.
today with
Yeah.
with a whole world of knowledge at your fingertips over the
Right.
internet.
Well, and where you see a gap in the knowledge too, like I think we've both done
Oh,
with our particular fields that we're working in, where we see a gap and there's not a YouTube video that's what we want, and
that's
sometimes we'll go make one.
we see an area where we
Yeah.
can contribute,
Right.
fill in a blank.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I mean, I think we're setting out to change the way knowledge is shared, and do away with. I mean, this is a kind of a stretch, but even schools,
Sure.
I think there's there's probably right now places that you can just go to. Well, actually, I take that back. There are all like Skillshare, for example.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're allowed to say these names on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.org.
Yeah,
some of
okay.
these different.
But yeah, it's just amazing, what you can learn, because that's I guess specifically for learning. It's not for recreation.
Right.
You go to those sites.
Yeah.
And you don't have to sit through hours of, if your thing is not algebra, if you're not going to be a mathematician or a scientist or an engineer or something, kids are getting exposed to all this stuff that are
Right.
not only not interested in, but they become obstacles in their schooling process, because if they fail these subjects, they have to take it again.
Right.
Or eventually get kicked out of the school, and it's just a super frustrating
Whereas
experience.
Whereas
for,
there could have been a different topic or different way to learn the topic
Exactly,
that they actually
yeah,
wanted to learn.
yeah, if someone had asked them, "Hey, man, what do you want to learn? I mean, what is it that you're good
Right.
at?" If education,
So it's targeted learning.
exactly, it's just targeted learning. Yeah, you just go there and you pick what you want to learn, and
Right.
that's it.
Well,
So-
there's general. I'm sure there's general learning, videos or media as well.
Yeah,
But it's probably going to be a lot more palatable
I think so.
to and easy to learn, because there's the quality audio,
Right.
graphics. You're
Yeah.
not in,
Yeah.
It's in kind of the
Excuse me.
comfort and of your home.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if they have to meet a certain criteria. I personally never visited any of the videos, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a certain criteria that needs to be met. I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah,
these are all
production
professionals,
quality.
production quality,
Yeah.
content, and
Right. And they verify it too.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's very different from
Yeah,
the traditional experience of going to school,
Yeah,
being a
Oh, yeah.
freshman, getting beat up.
getting
Then-
swirly.
Yeah, then having to sit in a class, try to hear what the professor's saying, and,
Yeah.
and one random professor saying whatever they want.
Yeah, exactly, and it's one size fits all,
Yeah.
type thing, and not all kids are the
Right.
same.
Well, and good luck trying to teach a kid something he's not interested in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's all these obstacles that we've somehow overcame, previous to this era. But yeah, I think we're just on a different path altogether to just yeah.
It's definitely much better.
Yeah.
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 So when are we getting rid of schools?
Well,
When do we have to quit? When did we not have to go to school anymore as kids?
Yeah, I don't know. But I that also has to do, the location,
Right.
the criteria of the parents.
Yeah.
There
Well,
has to be.
There's some value to having to go to a school that you don't want to be at, and you kind of learn some life lessons.
Yeah, I mean,
from the
there are
But-
general life experience to be had. There's the social aspect, for the kids. They need to interact. And
Yeah.
it can be, it can be sometimes a little difficult to balance all that because
Yeah.
you can't have them cooped up in a house, in a room all day long. They need to go out. They need to
Yeah.
interact with other kids. So.
Right, and learn how to do that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it'll come together
Yeah.
accordingly. But I
Yeah.
think most of the education might be taken in by just going to these websites.
Yeah. Well, as we've kind of proven, as if you could call us adults, we've all kind of had to relearn things to further whatever career path we're taking.
I'm doing that right now.
That's pretty much self-taught.
I'm in a process of
Yeah.
relearning.
You
I have
both
bad habits,
Yeah.
playing guitar, and I'm realizing that I need
Yeah.
to fix that, and I am, and this is something that, I didn't have to go and spend basically any money on. I just watched, tutorials on this and that, and I'm just using that
You
as a
spoke
guideline.
earlier about music theory,
Mm-hmm.
about like going back and learning the actual music theory.
Yeah.
Can you explain or describe music theory? Is it like mathematical theory, or
I guess there's a tiny little bit of math. Yeah, you need to count.
It all
You
comes
you
down
need
to
to be able to
math,
count,
right?
basically. I mean, I don't know if I would even want to call it math. Like I said, it's just the ability to keep track of numbers. Because ultimately, that's how. Because you have.
So it's an organizational skill.
Yes,
that you
yes.
learn?
It's groupings.
Okay.
Yeah, it's groupings. I've actually stumbled upon this theory that I was vaguely familiar with, and it's called the circle of fifths. And it was like an eye opener. I just clicked. So many things fell into place. But basically, I don't have the knowledge yet to explain
implement it.
this in depth. Well, no,
Okay.
I'm starting to implement it now, but
Oh.
but I've learned that you simply have things that are compatible with others as far as tones go. As
Relationships.
there's a relationship amongst all these 12 notes that comprise the chromatic scale, which is what Western music is comprised of.
Right.
Pretty much all music that we know is comprised of these 12 notes that are intermingled with each other in these groups. And if you can unlock the secret of how they interact with each other, then
So you're understanding
yeah.
where they are and the overlap, or
Right. I'm now learning
Interaction.
how to group them, how the relationship, because I mean it's not just about single notes. You have to group them together into what's called chords, which is two or more notes put together, and then that creates a whole other array of classification, like minor, major, dominant seven, that, I mean, I could go on for
Yeah.
a while
with terms that I don't understand.
with terms that a lot of people
Yeah,
won't understand, and I guess we're not targeting that that kind of thing.
Well, I'm trying
You
to
know.
understand as much as I can
Sure.
from what you're
Sure.
telling me.
Yeah, and I'm no expert either. I mean,
So once you do learn that theory, what does that enable you to do?
well, it just enables you to be able to compose new music, and it's like having
Okay.
that many more like brushes,
Mm.
and it's like if you're creating a painting, it just shows you how to use this brush with, and what happens when you mix this color with this color, and it's not
okay.
like unpleasant to the eye. It's like it's this pleasant tone. If I had to put it in a visual
Right.
way, you know.
So when you have a kind of an idea for a song in your head,
Hmm.
or some general idea of sort of what you want, it enables you to put it together more correctly the first time.
That's right. It has to follow certain guidelines. Yeah,
Right.
it's basically
So that it doesn't sound awful
right.
and you
Yeah,
don't know why.
exactly. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and also not knowing the music theory, you are going to be very limited with what you can do because
Right.
you're going to be running into roadblocks constantly because
Yeah.
you're only going to be able to work with a very limited amount of chords or of notes, and you're just going to be in a rut for as long as you are without this knowledge. So for me, it's like it's just opening up a whole nother horizon
Yeah.
for music composition and understanding it better. There's
Right.
you know it's not the same when you listen to music and it's like, oh, okay,
Well,
it's music.
Anybody can listen to
Right.
it. I can do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyone can do that. But when you can listen to it and start understanding, the progressions, whether it's a major or a minor,
Mhm.
you know, based scale. I mean, it's just really cool when you're starting to
Yeah.
unlock these little mysteries.
So it must be exciting at first. Does it take away from the kind of mystery of the music?
No.
When you can kind of take it apart
No,
and go.
no.
"Well,
To me, it's the other way around.
Oh, yeah. It
I've,
makes
I've
it more
lived
interesting.
I lived in darkness all this time.
okay.
Now it's like someone's just like starting to flick
Turning
the
the light
lighter.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the lighter's starting to come alive now.
You're seeing some shadows.
I'm starting
in
to
the dark.
see.
Yeah.
I already knew
Right.
basic stuff, but now it's like, it's just clicking,
Yeah.
making
So-
much more sense.
So you originally learned to play music, or become musical, just by picking up the instrument and playing,
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
lot of the
Yeah,
great rock and roll artists.
yeah.
Started out that way.
Yeah. Just I remember with my very first paycheck, I had when I was about 15 or 16. I went and bought this guitar on First Street in a curio shop, and it wasn't a
in
very good
Mexico.
guitar. Yeah. And it wasn't a very good guitar, but that's what I had. So that's what I started with, and yeah.
How long did it take you to figure out that it wasn't a good guitar?
Oh, I knew that from the beginning.
Okay.
I knew that, but I didn't care
You
at
knew
the
that when you
moment.
bought it,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it worked for you at the time.
Yeah, it worked for me at the time. That's right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know what became of that guitar. Speaking of, but anyway. Yeah. So it's been a cool road, but I mean, I'm not a kid anymore. I should have learned this a long time ago. So it's a little embarrassing, I have to admit it, for me to just learn all this. But I consider myself a late bloomer in many instances. So
Yeah.
this is the moment, I suppose, when it happens for me.
Better late than never.
Better late than never. That's right. I keep telling myself that. Yeah.
Well, Dad's still playing with model boats, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still playing with toy airplanes, and
Yeah. And the truth
we
is,
both play with teddy bears.
yeah, we never stop learning. We never stop, and yeah, and that's the cool thing, to never stop doing that. Just never stop.
Well, the teddy bears can get kind of sophisticated, actually.
Well, they have, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have motion now. They
No, I didn't. Yeah, I've even had the Barbie doll once in a
yeah,
while.
that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
And,
right.
and at some point, we can take the bear out of the cockpit of the airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about you, Pa? What have you been doing lately? You've got several projects going on right now.
Well, I do several. It's that time of year. I do a little maintenance on the big boat,
On Sparkle.
on
Yeah.
Sparkle. I still got a little bit more I want to get done before the winter weather comes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The winter doesn't amount to much here, but we do get a little rain, and it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
So primarily your maintenance is varnish. And paint work?
Paint and varnish for
Yeah.
the most part, yeah. Yeah. That and ongoing with the models, I get
Projects for model boats, yeah.
I get a pretty steady stream of emails from
Right.
from folks that have bought the plans and building the boats, and
Yep.
that's been, first of all, amazing, all the people from all over, and it's been fun to correspond with them and learn a little about what they do or what they're doing.
So when they build your boat, to see the finished boat or
Yeah.
the projects,
Yeah,
see
yeah,
the modifications or
yeah, I get to see the projects come along and eventually materialize. And a lot of cases, the guys follow the instructions, and
yeah,
a lot of the guys don't follow the instructions.
right.
They
Well, there could be a couple different reasons for that.
they're good.
Generally, yeah,
They're good.
yeah,
Actually, I love those guys.
yeah, yeah.
I'm one of them myself. Not prone to exactly follow the instructions.
Right.
Yeah.
I know we've seen some people that will build the boat so quickly that they kind of, it seems like they kind of skip some of the steps. And
Well-
it's been amazing to me that how well the boats still work,
Well,
even though they've been kind of rushed, some of them.
the boats.
That's on one end,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, the boats. If they follow instructions to a point,
Yeah,
the boat's going to work.
right,
But a lot of the guys have taken it a step or two or many steps beyond that.
Right.
And have done some really nice jobs and turned out some really elaborate boats based
Yeah.
on a simple design.
right. So they've taken the design, they've added layers of detail to it,
Right.
and then maybe even innovated their own techniques or materials or
Yeah.
design features,
Well,
integrated them into the boat.
some of that, when you mention materials, people are scattered all over the world, and in the plans I describe the materials I use, and those same materials are perhaps not available someplace else.
Right.
So
So
the guys improvise, or
parts and material
they have to
substitution.
find local materials to do the job. And,
Yeah. Yeah, we just
yeah.
got another email last night about that.
Yep.
Somebody
Yep.
in Brazil, I think, wondering about the thickness and type of plywood that they
Right.
had available.
Right. I've got an answer for him. I'll get back to him
Yeah,
today.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's a common question, actually.
It is
Yeah.
because the plywood I find at the store is, on another continent they're going to find some different plywood.
Right.
But, the fact is almost any plywood will work for these boats as long as it's not too thick.
As long as it can make the bend.
As long as it can make the bends, and after you build the boat to paint it well,
Right.
the paint will protect it, and the boats, for the most part, they're not in the water. They're in the water
Right.
for an hour or two, or maybe all day once in a while.
Yeah.
But they don't live in the water 24 hours a day.
Yeah. And only some of them see salt water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which,
Very few of them, right?
yeah,
I guess. Yeah.
which, but at any rate, a paint job can protect the plywood, so
Yeah.
the actual plywood's not terribly critical.
Right.
Yeah.
So you use plywood that's not marine grade for your own boats, correct?
Oh, yeah.
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 I mean that it would cost quite a bit to get. You didn't when you started out with
Well, I
designing and
used-
building these boats. You basically that wasn't a very viable option for you going out and buying really expensive plywood.
No, I didn't. In
Yeah.
fact, I worked with the most inexpensive plywood, and
That you could find,
Yeah,
which
well,
was door skin plywood
the
at the
door
time.
skin type, which happened to be available and inexpensive,
Right.
and it's tough. It works fine.
Yeah.
Makes a sturdy boat.
Yeah.
It holds paint well, so paint it up good.
You have to be able to paint the door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that works fine. So,
So those are the boat designs you've published. What's on the horizon?
on the
You've got a
horizon.
couple of projects on the horizon.
Well, I do. I've got a couple ideas. Well, hopefully I'll get to work on them soon. So.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about any of them or no?
No, not yet.
Not yet. You're going
Not
to share
yet.
that. You'll have to
Doesn't
keep
want to
watching.
jinx it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to save some topics for future.
Okay.
For
Yeah.
future.
Yeah. I don't think
Episodes.
that's a problem, but yeah. Well, I guess I should talk a bit too about what I've been doing.
Well, yeah, you've
Yeah.
got some exciting things
Yeah.
going on in the airplane department.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
There's couple projects that I have started. One is a kind of a next generation for the Gemini project. So originally there was the Gemini prototype, then Gemini V2 that was designed for so that home builders could build a relatively high performance, relatively robust, long endurance UAV at home. And now I'm designing kind of a next generation version of that will not necessarily be for home builders, but would be kind of a professional user limited production aircraft. And we'll see where that goes. Be more the idea is to be more modular, so it's easier to transport even than V2, and can say ship in a Pelican case.
Yeah.
And of course it has to have better performance in every aspect, and
Well, your-
retractable landing gear.
Well, your V2 worked really well. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a tough act to follow.
Yeah, well, that's the hardest part about designing the next generation, whether we call it V3 or Gemini Pro, whatever we end up calling it, whatever name we end up giving it. That's the hardest part about designing is beating the V2 design.
Yeah.
But the V2 was designed, some of the parts were not completely optimal, but it was designed to say not need flaps, some of the design features. But adding the complexity and the weight to beat the V2 design is there's somewhat of a toss up there, and it's actually in some performance aspect it's very difficult to beat.
Yeah.
But
Well-
who better to compete with in a very specific field than yourself? Try to beat your own product.
Yeah. Well, your
Replace
V2
it.
design, I think, had benefits that came from its simplicity.
Yes,
The-
yes. There's
the actual simplicity of the design itself.
yeah. When you want to increase the performance more in any aspect, you end up introducing a lot more complexity. And you've got to get everything right. If you get a part of that wrong, it will end up being worse than the simple version. It sounds counterintuitive, but at some point, you can't. Even if you had infinite money or complexity to throw at it, it wouldn't necessarily make it better.
Yeah.
But we're working on it.
Yeah.
It's not impossible. And,
No. Well, I've seen the
we're working on it.
beginnings, and
Yeah.
it looks hopeful.
yeah, we've got we've got the jigs for the fuselage and the tail and the vertical stab, and we've got one fuselage and vertical stab assembled from the jigs. We'll probably make gradual changes as we build more of them, and of course we still have to test fly this prototype. It hasn't flown yet. And we still need to make the wings for it. But I've kind of paused that that program for a little bit to work on on a new vertical takeoff concept that I've actually been thinking about for years now, and I've done a lot of research for it.
You've been talking and thinking about this one for years.
Yeah.
That's right.
So when you look out there at the vertical takeoff, of course I look at the fully electric aircraft because that's what most people want, and it could be hybridized from there. That's possible. We'll talk more about that later, or maybe in another video. But so I've looked at all these other aircraft that are available, and I see some common faults with them. That could kind of limit their capabilities in the long term. And I wanted to kind of right off the bat with a clean sheet of paper design, create a configuration that overcomes all of those defects in one design for a kind of a multi-role, multi-purpose aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've attempted to do, and it's kind of a unique configuration, as you've both seen.
Yeah.
Seen some of the parts, and it's structurally challenging.
Yeah.
So the structure and limiting the aeroelasticity of the airframe is challenging because of the type of configuration it has, the weight distribution. But if it can be achieved, it will solve a lot of the problems. Accessing the payloads, payload delivery, for deliverables, and for optical payloads, providing a clear view for the sensors. So those are some of the things that immediately it solves. And it's also it has to be extremely practical and high performance at the same time.
Yeah.
So we're trying to utilize some of the NASA research for distributed electric propulsion systems. Maybe not fully utilizing it was as far as NASA's pushing it, but try to kind of borrow it initially, lacking all the fundamental research and ability to reproduce it or to utilize it fully. We're going to try to utilize it right away,
Yeah.
in a practical way to increase performance, and whatever performance we're losing due to making concessions to practicality, we're going to try to gain back by applying this new concept and technology.
Yeah.
I guess distributed propulsion is not necessarily a completely new concept, but it's I think it's very poorly understood by most aircraft designers.
Yeah. Well, and you're building this airplane so it breaks down in pieces.
Yeah, we're
So
we're building a prototype. We've got some pieces of
Yeah.
it back here and around the shop.
Yeah.
We
the
have
piece-
most of an airplane.
Yeah. It breaks down into pieces that will fit into a box, so you
Right.
can carry it around or transport it.
Yeah, it's
Easily.
designed to be inherently modular.
Yeah.
You've learned a lot from Gemini V2.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
making modular aircraft. You
Right.
already have a very long-running start on this. You've learned,
Right. Yeah, we've got a kind of
Incredibly
unique
from it.
data set.
yeah, yeah.
That
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of even full-size aircraft, very reputable designers saying, electric aircraft going beyond a certain flight time is just not possible with today's battery technology. It can't be a practical aircraft. All these things we've found that if you, not necessarily inventing any particular new thing or making any fundamental breakthrough in research, but just applying research that's been done, that's been applied for a long time, very specifically around some of the types of missions that people want to fly, and then tweaking the optimization more towards endurance rather than distance or speed. And we've given up a few flight characteristics, but the ones we've gained, I think, have been more useful overall to a lot of the missions that people want to fly. In which I'm not sure if I'm looking at the overall most popular use cases, but I'm definitely, for sure I get a lot of the people that I correspond with that have looked a lot of other places and not found what they were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So they tend to kind of come to me or see my designs. So I get a lot of feedback from them.
Yeah,
So I guess
you've had
alternative.
quite an array of people from all
Yeah.
walks of life. Number one, buying the plans for V2, and also coming
Right.
to you for different applications.
Yeah, and I've
as
noticed
well.
a lot of the people that are buying plans or kits for V2 would really like, a lot of the, well, some of the interest is hobby and
Sure.
just personal.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, a surprising amount of it, is commercial interest. And these people, if there were a product that they could buy that could do this, they would be purchasing it.
And your
It's something to
platform
have.
and your platforms proved to be quite versatile.
Right. They look at
for
it.
all
and
those
they,
applications.
yeah, even though it was not originally intended for
Yeah.
these commercial applications. They haven't really found anything else.
Yeah.
So the major benefits there are a combination, although not optimized for either one, but of a good combination of endurance, weightlifting capability, and altitude potential.
Yeah, sure.
So the high lift wing, relatively high aspect ratio, and high coefficient of lift from the wing, combined with the rest of the airframe that's extremely stable and efficient, and has provided a multi-use platform that's been more useful to a broader range of payloads.
Yeah, it's just become a
and missions that are kind of atypical.
It's a very well-rounded platform.
Yeah. It can
that-
do
that
a lot of the
meets
things
many
that typical
requirements.
aircraft can't.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's where your long hours of research and your natural intuition for this, because I think you have a talent clearly for this. I mean, your whole life kind of revolves around this, and you've proven this time and again. I think you're on a good path. Also, I mean, obviously my knowledge on aircraft is very, very limited, but from what I've seen, you and the giant
I think you understand it better than I understand your music.
Well, probably, yeah, because of what you've told me, yeah. But I just seeing your progress and the way you've been able to materialize all this data and put it together in a package that has proven to be, judging by the amount of people that contact you and the popularity of your videos and all that, I think you've certainly been able to achieve something, and will continue to create platforms that are going to be very, very popular.
Yeah.
In this industry.
Well, the success of the V2 plans and kits has surpassed what I expected.
Yeah.
I also expected it to be copied and put into some sort of production years ago, and it hasn't really been. There has been a general move in the mapping industry, mapping UAVs, that's kind of shifted more towards what I've been doing all along.
The twin.
Yeah,
Twin
the configuration
configuration.
of the aircraft, the basic aircraft. They've stayed mostly distance optimized, which is probably right for a lot of them applications, but not all of them. But they have realized the advantage of using more than one electric motor for propulsion. There's a lot of advantages in that. We've done some other videos about that, but and you know, having the twin, not only can it be more efficient, but it can be more balanced,
Mhm.
and you know, the distribution of the components. And it really doesn't increase the cost having multiple motors with electric, because you're basically paying for thrust or paying for the weight of the motor.
Mhm.
And when you buy, say, 2, 3, 4 motors, smaller motors instead of one big one, you know, you're gaining a bunch of performance and stability factors, and you're not paying any more than you would for one big motor.
Yeah.
So you're basically buying them by weight, kind of like you buy a lot of other things in the world, you know, commodities. So that's interesting. So the VTOL, or vertical takeoff and landing, prototype hasn't flown yet. We're still working on the airframe. We've got all the parts, we've got all the components for it, at least as far as we know. And we still have to do a bunch of the installation of the electronics and setup of the flight controller.
Yeah.
So
But in essence, I mean, your concept, most of the idea is there already. It exists
Yeah.
in the shape of fuselage and wings. I mean,
Yeah, we've got
you've been able
all
to
the
carry
parts.
your idea almost to
Yeah, well, we've already
to completion.
in building the first prototype, I've already seen a lot of things that I'll do slightly different and make
Right.
better.
Yeah.
But the overall concept, we're not trying to build we're trying to build the best and most efficient and most capable general use vertical takeoff aircraft that we can think of and envision, but without going to tilt rotors, without changing propeller pitch, and doing some of these other things that would add so much complexity. We're trying to build a workhorse.
Two dedicated propulsion systems
Yeah,
that
they're-
need to work
The propulsion
seamlessly
systems are dedicated.
amongst themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a function of the firmware, the
Right.
software,
Right. Yeah.
to transition them,
Mhm.
and a matter of tuning that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're trying to keep it where all the components for the airframe are commercially available, and the design and configuration are not breaking new rules in terms of aerodynamics, or you know, they're not breaking new ground. They're sticking with relatively conventional principles to accomplish a rather unconventional goal,
Tested and proven. Yeah. Information.
and provide a flexibility of payloads and delivery methods for the payloads that we're not seeing in the industry currently.
Mhm.
So if nothing else, experimenting with payloads with this configuration should be extremely interesting.
Yeah. No, it is interesting. It's
Yeah,
like
very, very much so.
creative. It's unlike anything else I've seen.
Yeah.
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 I
So-
was happy. I've even got to play
Yeah,
a
Dad's
small
been
part
working
in
on-
helping
He's been
build
building some of the parts.
building a few little pieces for it. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the flight testing.
Yeah. Well, that's always the usually gratifying, sometimes terrifying
if
part.
If it's anything like V2, like that first test where it went.
I'm sitting here remembering not V2, but the very
V1.
first Gemini
Yes.
prototype.
Yeah, I just
you
went.
You were there.
I
for
was
that
there,
flight.
yeah.
We were all together
Yeah.
for that first
Yeah,
flight.
it just went as
Yeah.
if it always been doing it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
Well, again, I tried to just put together available methodology for, and parts that I knew would work into an airframe that,
Yeah.
that was very suited for its particular role, but not trying to,
Yeah.
work any magic and defy the laws of physics to do it.
Yeah.
So working within some boundaries. And then, V2 was kind of looking at that data set and then throwing out the parts that were impractical and finding out the parts that were left, we tried to optimize and improve based on the data that was there. And the general simplification, and then learning from some structural failure we'd had with the prototype, learning from that and making sure that, if possible, never happened again, which I'd like to say was pretty successful.
It's
The
been very
structural part.
successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you gave V2 the ability to carry the space and
Right,
the
yeah.
ability to carry payloads.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the flexibility.
we wish you all the best, man.
Yeah,
I think
thank
you're
you.
on to a really
yeah.
good path here. And
I'll be calling you to help.
good.
Various parts.
Good, yeah. And you have a
So that'll be interesting.
yeah. Well, I think this is going pretty good.
Yeah.
You've been able to
Yeah.
all pitch in,
Yeah.
talk about the hard.
Gary's actually got some. I've seen some of the things he's been working on. He's got one project that I'm very invested and interested in,
Good.
in a certain way, and
Good.
I'd really like at some point to show what he's doing with that. It's out of the usual range of things that he would do. I think I kind of pushed him into this in a little bit.
It's the first time I built a motorboat.
Mm.
Yeah, well, okay, so it's a motorboat.
Yeah.
So you know that much. It's
Yeah.
it's an very unconventional motorboat. It's probably not going to be a kit or produced in any way. We don't know where it's going to go with that, but
It's
it's kind of a
expecting
special
this-
purpose.
It's a special
going to be a
purpose.
Special purpose vehicle.
tool
Yeah.
for us
It was a
to
tool.
use.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that. We'll see it. We'll see it pretty soon.
Yeah,
I've got it on the back burner while we wait to see this.
it's working.
I want to see this new airplane.
Its basic
fly.
function is working.
It
It's
floats.
basically
It'll be a twin unveil.
It does more than that. Yeah.
Twin unveiling.
Yeah.
It shall remain shrouded in mystery for now.
For the moment, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
cool.
I guess that's a wrap, huh?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks,
the,
and
yeah, the dogs are going to sleep.
Yeah, the dog. Yeah.
we know it's time to end the video when the
When
dogs
the
all go
dogs
to
fall
sleep.
asleep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So check out his channel.
Yeah.
We'll put a
it's-
link in the description.
Yeah. Yeah. TDKCT means
TDKCT,
TDKCT, which in English means tea made out of cassette. And there's not a lot of stuff there right now, but I'm hoping to build it up significantly over the next
You've got a
month
few
or so.
videos with music.
Yeah,
your
I have
original
4 of
music,
them. Yeah, it's all original music. Yeah,
and you'll be adding more.
I'll be adding more soon. So yeah, hopefully it'll help me keep track of hopefully what it's going to be improvement on my composition.
And what other social media do you have?
I have Instagram under the same name and also Bandcamp. You can listen just to the music without the video. On
Can you
Bandcamp.
buy your music there?
Yeah, you can buy it on
Yeah,
Bandcamp.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you guys feel inclined, like it, just leave me a comment there, and hopefully you enjoy it.
And feedback.
And yes,
Let 'em know
please
what you think.
feedback. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Cool.
yeah.
And check out my stuff on Bearospace, FPV Reviews, and Bearospace Insider. I don't know which of these channels which of the channels it'll go on.
Yeah.
And your channel is Sail Tales
Sail tails.
on YouTube.
Yep.
Yep.
Sailboats. I'm going to stick to the sailboats.
And none of us are on Facebook
Yeah. None of us
No.
are on Facebook.
Nothing on
But-
Facebook.
yet,
Well, yeah.
or Twitter.
There's enough platform.
There's enough.
in what we've been
Yeah.
using to
Yep.
get plenty
Okay.
broadcast.
And this is Kojima.
Oh yeah, Kojima. Yeah, he's
Or
the
Kojima.
last one
Yep.
to be introduced.
Yep.
Good doggy.
Yeah.
Good doggies.
Well, Kojima's familiar in at least 2 or 3 of my videos.
Yeah, he's been in some of the videos.
Yeah.
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 Yep. He's a good
Kujamo
doggy.
follows us around whenever we go out and play with these things.
Typically, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.